Roman Emperor Constantine, convinced that the new god Jesus had aided him in battle, converted to Christianity. Under Constantine, Christianity became the state religion. At street level, the magnificent church of San Clemente is a medieval monument to the religion that would spread to the furthest reaches of the empire and make Rome its religious capital. As what of the Roman gods? In some ways, they had become servants of the state and risen to prominence on the back of its military might. Rome would become a city of temples dedicated to the new god, and a graveyard for the lost gods. Perhaps the sacrificial price was more than the Maya city-states could pay. Weakened by wars among themselves, they were already in decline when the Spaniards invaded in the 16th century. The Maya were no match for muskets and measles. The people who believed that their world rested on a turtle back surrounded by water made their last stand on an island. The Maya waited on Tayasal for a prophecy to be fulfilled. It was written in their book, the Kilam Ilam, "Receive your bearded guests from the east, bearers of the standard of God." While their army fell before De Montejo, the conquistador, and bowed to the Christian cross, the Tayasal Maya waited, true to the old gods, under their chief Calanc. Christian missionaries came to offer baptism and were politely refused. Not yet, they said. What were they waiting for? For the prophecies to be fulfilled, for the end of the world? The Spaniards grew tired of waiting. In 1697, they sailed across the lake in an iron-clad galley. Stone arrows were no match for metal. Those who survived the slaughter swam to the refuge of the forest. But what of their gods? The writer D.H. Lawrence saw the Maya world as giant trees felled by the invaders, but the roots still lived, sending up new shoots through foreign soil. The Maya god Hunahpu disappeared into the great tree. But elements of the Maya religion remain.
colour the Christian rituals performed on Tayasal today. These are the last traces, the faint echoes of the lost God. Roaming from the wastes of Siberia and the steppes of northern Mongolia in the 8th century BC, a group of Celts settled to farm above the lake and beneath the Dachstein mountain in Hallstatt. The Celts saw no borders between the natural and supernatural world. For them, everything in the natural world had a religious significance. Fields with plenty. Taranis, the thunder god, rumbled in the mountains above them and gifted rain to the crops. Spring, running water, and the placid lake were the dwelling places of spirits to be soothed with offerings. Outside their settlement, Cernunnos, like the Greek Pan, were the antler god of wild animals. And the wild boar was especially revered as a symbol of warriors and warfare, and a food reserved for gods. But the horse which had brought them here was revered above all others as the goddess Epona. To the Celts, caves, crevasses, every opening in the earth was a portal to the underworld, and it was a gift of the underworld that underpinned their culture. Prehistoric times, people have burrowed here beneath the earth for minerals worth its weight in gold. It was known as the white gold, and in the ancient world it could make the difference between life and death. Salt preserved meat during the long winter months when the fields lay fallow. The Hallstatt salt mine also preserved a miner, the victim of a long-forgotten rock slide. And close by, a recent discovery. This 4th century BC wooden stairway, used by the mining Celts of Hallstatt, also symbolized a portal to the underworld. As it was with the Egyptians and the Etruscans, it is the graves of the dead that reveal the beliefs of the Celts. They believed in an afterlife and furnished the dead with food and drink, and, as the Egyptians did, a boat for crossing to the other world. They also provided the implements the dead would need for survival there. The grapevines also reveal their art in their pottery and their mastery of metal. Amber, gold, and other precious imported objects were the fruits of the salt trade with Greek settlements as far south as Marseille in France. The graves of the past also hint at the glory of the Celtic future. The sacred horse of the steppes could be harnessed to a two-wheeled chariot, an idea taken from the Greeks. Bronze armaments of war would give way to iron. The Celtic warriors who chose to be buried in their war chariots would race out of Central Europe and ravage the classical civilizations of Rome and Greece. In the 4th century BC, Rome was just emerging from Etruscan domination when the Celts attacked. A marauding band rampaged through Italy and ransacked Rome. Celtic society was structured around warfare, but the Celts, like the Romans, did not fight for territory, but for prestige and plunder. And even the booty they brought home to Central Europe was regarded as the property of the gods. In 279 BC, they swept east to Greece, to the very gates of Delphi, the spiritual powerhouse of Greek civilization, eager for the fabulous treasuries that lined the sacred way. Legend tells us that the Celts were more fascinated by the statues of Greek gods that abounded in Delphi. They were astounded that the elemental gods of nature could be reduced to human form. Ironically, it was not the weapons of the Greeks that repelled them, but the snowstorms of the high mountains surrounding Delphi.
The Celts were a powerful force, and only a force of nature could hold them back. Balked by the snow of the sacred high places, the Celts retreated. Behind them, they left a legacy of fear.
Neither the Greeks nor the Romans would forget the terror of the barbarians at their gates. In time, Greece would fall to Rome, and Rome would plot the downfall of the Celts. It was the Celts' misfortune that the Romans shared their belief in war as a passage to power and prestige. In the 1st century BC, Rome would produce a general in search of a victory over a foreign foe to secure power at home. The Gauls, the Celtic people of central France, were a foe worthy of Julius Caesar.
Veni, vidi, vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. Julius Caesar wrote, summing up his savage slaughter of the Celts in France. He pushed further into Central Europe, where the Celts' inclination to fight among themselves aided the Romans.
By the time the Celts agreed to bury their differences, it was already too late. Many of those Celts who survived the battles with the Romans slaughtered their loved ones and took their own lives rather than live as slaves. Ironically, for the defeated Celts, the Romans brought a cohesion to their world that it had never known. they also brought their gods. The Celts of Central Europe accepted Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, and the others. After all, what was the sovereign family of Roman gods to a people who had hundreds of their own?
Already, the Celts who had waded south and east were finding their way westward. But where would they find refuge from the might of Rome? The continental Celts did not invade Britain. They were much too busy warring among themselves to organize such an expedition. From 500 to 100 BC, they trickled into England and Wales and assimilated the British culture.
Castle Henfrey in Wales, Castle of the Prince, is an Iron Age promontory fort resurrected and recreated by archaeologists. The Celtic hamlet was a cluster hut built with arched timber walls of wicker and roof of thatch. Chieftain's roundhouse was more elaborate. Decorated with a swirling Celtic art with which they embossed their shields and dyed their bodies. Urged on by their Druid priests and without armor, the Celts crashed recklessly into battle, assured by the same Druids that those slain would be reincarnated through the magical cauldron of teeming Pole of Agrona, goddesses of slaughter. When the Celts weren't warring, they were found, and the granary was at the heart of the hamlet. In earlier times, the wooden plough could barely turn the thin upland soil for planting. The Celts brought about an agricultural revolution in Britain. And it started in the village smithy, under the protection of Gobnut, the god of blacksmiths, similar to the Greek and Roman gods, Hephaestus and Vulcan. Iron meant new farming implements with which the Celts produced hired shields, a gift of Amethon, god of agriculture. Iron weapons were a huge advantage for raid and reprisal against neighboring tribes. And from these forays, they brought cattle and human heads home to the hamlet.
To the Celts, the head was the seat of power to be taken off the battle so that the power of the victim came to the victor. It was a symbol of prestige they hung from their doorposts.
Julius Caesar, one of Rome's most astute generals, identified the seat of Celtic power. It was not in the edge of their iron weapons, the suicidal ferocity of their warriors, not even in their gods, but in the powerful priests who stood between gods and men in the Celtic world. The Druids. This priestly caste served a 20-year apprenticeship in mystery, folklore, magic, and poetry.